It's hard to trust anyone again. After all the letdowns I've been through, haunted by what I've been through. Air still trapped while I still can't breathe, and I'm screaming out, give me hope somehow. And I know, I know you stay true when my world is false. Everything around's breaking down to chaos. I always see you when my sight is lost. Everything around's breaking down to chaos. This is the Jason Bradley Show. Whoa, I guess I renamed the show when you were out of town. That's what happens. You should never go out of town.
I go up and catch all those wonderful fish I just brought home, and all of a sudden you came in with a hostile takeover.
Yeah, I get all subversive on you. That's okay.
You burned down the Capitol and blamed it on somebody else and took over. I don't even remember. I already forgot the lyrics, Jay. I'm just so back on you taking the show over that it blanked my mind.
I think I'm feeling slighted because the people that are hostile toward us always seem to forget me. So
I don't understand why. Yeah. Why do they focus in on me?
I don't know.
Well, you're just as big a jerk as I am. What is the... And I was also distracted.
True.
I was also distracted. We'll get into this in a sec. Looking at all these beautiful Minneapolis City Council members. If you could have a storm of snowflakes, go to the Minneapolis.
You're looking for a blizzard.
Yeah, go to the government City Council page. Where Jacob Fry is a moderate.
Yes.
Okay, that's in Minneapolis. Anyway, Jay, I already forgot the song. No idea what
that's
the hell
all right.
it is.
You wouldn't know it. It's Chaos by a band called Mute Math.
Mute Math.
Yes.
Are they quiet when they're doing their math problems? I mean, how did they get that name?
I don't know.
I have to look it up now.
Yeah.
Is that one word?
Yes. Great band, great live show. I tell you, I've seen them live once, and they have so much energy. Jumping around the stage and jumping on top of his keyboard, and it's good.
So they
stuff.
act like the Ultimate Warrior. Okay.
Yeah, that's about right.
It doesn't say how they got it on Wikipedia. But,
yeah.
I'm just always curious as how bands get their name. I mean, who came up with it? Why?
Right.
Maybe
he got hushed in math class a lot. I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, sometimes both M's are capitalized. Sometimes all the letters are capitalized. But
yes.
At least according to if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
Absolutely.
So,
well, we all know Wikipedia is a source of truth and
as edited by me on occasion.
Uncontested truth at that. Really? Edited by you?
I've submitted a few errors, mostly doing with baseball. But just, things I know are BS on here that somebody put in. Jay,
yes.
Question for you before we begin. Mm-hmm. I saw a behind the scenes. Were you a fan of the show Cheers?
Yeah, I guess. I watched it, yeah.
So you know a fair amount of the show, all the characters and the timeline and all that.
Yes, I remember even Coach before Woody.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure you've seen
Diane
them all
instead of Kirstie Alley.
Yeah. I was going to mention something because great ensemble cast. I mean, I think in the beginning of that show it was all about Ted Danson's character and Shelley Long, and then Sam, and then they did a good job of making everybody kind of a part of it. You know, and I think that's why it survived Shelley Long's departure. But I was wondering, because I saw some like a behind the. I was listening to it at my job instead of working. I was listening to like a behind the scenes. I don't think it was an E! True Hollywood Story. I don't know how I stumbled on it on YouTube. I looked up. I was listening to one of my wrestling podcasts, and somehow it came up as a choice.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to ask you: if you're a fan of the show, what character on the show did you like the most, and what character did you think was the most like you? Like, if you could be one of the characters, who would you be?
Oh, goodness. I don't even know.
Now, see, you mentioned the coach. He was my favorite.
Yeah.
Was the coach, because he was such a dim-witted idiot.
Right.
I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, just
he was funny.
The show where they sang Albania, I always laugh at that. I always laugh at that one the most. And then, Woody Harrelson did a great job of being kind of a 30-year-old version of Coach. later. But
Right.
The reason I asked this is because what I saw on here was that the guy who played the mailman, Cliff,
Yes.
auditioned for George Wendt's part.
Really?
He wanted to be Norm.
Huh.
And after reading the script, he basically pitched, without the details, the Cliff character to the creators or the writers or whatever.
So he wasn't even one of the characters.
No, Cliff was never a character.
Wow.
He said, do you have a bar know-it-all? Do you have an idiot at the bar who knows all these facts and all these corrects everybody and blah, blah, that talks about the ancient Romans and blah, blah. Because every bar has a regular who thinks they know everything. So he basically pitched himself as a different character. John Ratzenberger is his name. And just they kind of thought, no, so they called him back and said, well, we'll let you, what do you want to be? I mean, what are we going to make you? And so they brainstormed Cliff. Cliff was never a part of the show.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's amazing. So but I didn't know that he tried out for Norm's part and didn't get it, and then wanted to be on the show so bad he pitched himself.
Huh.
That's a different character.
That's
but I think
great.
I have a lot of Cliff in me.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the women want me like I'm Ted Danson's character, but I think I got a lot of Cliff in me because whenever I watch the show, and it's on Hulu, or my wife and I watch it once in a while.
Yeah.
She likes to fall asleep with the TV on. Sometimes it plays like 12 episodes, and we just fall asleep. But Cliff will come in with like a dumb comment about a date in history, and I sit here and I think, oh God, that reminds me.
That's kind of like
me of the beginning of history lesson on the podcast. My Cliff,
pretty much.
Kala and Nam. I mean, the ancient Romans back in, hey, Sammy, don't you know that back in 1528 when blah 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 landed over here in Boston Harbor? God, I got some Cliff in me. But my favorite, like I said, was always the coach,
right?
Because I just you can't the idiotic humor that the accidental humor that he had was. But who was your favorite on the show?
Oh goodness, I don't know. Maybe it was Woody.
Woody, okay. It's hard not to like Woody.
Yeah. And then after he left that show, he went and did a bunch of movies where he was really unlikable. So
Natural Born Killers, which I actually, if you appreciate it for what it was, I mean, I'm not a fan of the, killers being worshipped as the hero, but it was interesting to see something like that after watching him on Cheers. I mean, it just, the guy can act, whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah.
What was the Black Guys Can't Jump or something he was in?
White Guys Can't
Jump. Well, that was one of the first movies he ever did, wasn't it?
It must have been. Yeah.
He was still
Him
on
and
Cheers.
Snipes, right?
Yeah,
Wesley
I think
Snipes.
he was still on Cheers when he did that.
Huh.
So who do you think?
White Men Can't Jump.
See, I could be Cliff and you could be Norm. I think
Really?
you and I could be Cliff and Norm.
I don't know. Maybe.
You don't think so?
Maybe.
Because I could picture you walking into a bar. Okay, and Jason, everybody yells, blah, blah.
You're already wrong.
What?
I'd walk in and nobody would notice.
Then you'd sit at the bar and Woody would say, hey, Mr. Bradley, what you up to today? And you'd say, well, my ideal weight if I were 13 feet tall, or whatever Norm would say. I mean, that was, that would be, I'm just saying, that was because Woody always called him Mr. Peterson, never called him Norm.
Yeah.
So there was, you would give somebody a one-liner and sit down and, there was a scene I remember in one episode where there was like a friendship moment between Cliff and Norm, and there's like this uncomfortable silence, and Norm looks at Cliff and goes, "Do you want a hug?" And Cliff goes, nah. They just walk away. But a show with great writing, a show with excellent writing, and I know the heartbeat of it was kind of Shelley Long and Ted Danson, but I think over time. And one thing I like, too, is when Shelley Long left the show and they brought Christy Alley in, they wrote a completely different character for her. Mm-hmm. She wasn't it wasn't a ripoff of
Right.
Shelley Long's character. I can't think of her name, but Diane. It wasn't a ripoff. It wasn't Dukes of Hazzard where we're going to create two clones.
Coy and Vance. Yeah.
It was let's rip up the paper. Let's get a whole new person there, and I think it helped the show. But you have to. I'll tell you what. If you really want another good one, any arguing between Lilith and Frasier.
Yeah.
Because of all the wordsmithing that they use, hilarious, just hilarious arguing between the two. The whole thing of where they were on a TV show together when they first started dating. They hated each other. They were on a TV show together. Hilarious episode, just hilarious. I mean, give it to Kelsey Grammer, who played that character for 20 years on television.
Yeah.
On 2 shows. So. And one more. Here's a worthless Cliff fact.
Mm-hmm.
There was a long-lost episode of Cheers where Frasier says his dad is dead. And, of course, his dad, John Mahoney, is his dad on Frasier for 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a long-lost episode of Cheers where Frasier's like, my late father once said, his psychiatrist babble. But there is a scene where he does say that.
Wow.
So I guess they forgot about that when they wanted to create a new show with him as the star. So yeah, I mean, check that out. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I don't have any idea. It's on something like that. But the good old shows back then. I mean, just people sitting around a bar. You could create art. I mean, to a great degree doing that. And check out Mute Math, everyone. Mute Math as the whatever the song was.
Chaos.
Chaos.
Yes.
Total chaos. It's co-founded by Darren King. You know who he is?
I've seen him. Okay. I've been in the same room as him.
There's past members too. Are they broken up now?
I don't think they're broken
Paul
up.
Miani.
I think 2018 is the last time they put something out.
Oh, okay.
So that's not abnormal in the music world, and especially with COVID.
Everybody goes on hiatus for a while and then comes back.
Yeah.
You can understand that, though, in that business, though, Jay, I watched a special once on Garth Brooks and a week in the life of him touring.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand. It sounds great, but you can understand how you get sick of it real quick.
I tell you, there's nothing more exciting than a drive from Topeka, Kansas to Pig's Knuckle, Arkansas.
Well, and particularly if you're somebody like Garth, you drive or fly into a city, go on the local country music station. Everybody'd have to get set up all day, do sound checks.
Yep.
I mean, I can get how it sounds great, and after a month, you could be like, you know what? I want to go back to. I like the paycheck, but I'd rather.
Well, and every night, being there with people that love the music that you wrote and are so thankful, and there's nothing better than that.
And always remembering somebody's hearing you for the first time, and somebody hasn't seen you. Somebody's. I mean, believe it or not, there are people who've never seen a Rolling Stones concert, me included.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
I've never been to one.
Yeah, they've been around since, the late '60s, or in the case of Keith Richards, the Civil War.
Yes.
And I mean, so anyway, okay, Jay, serious business. Now we talk serious business on this show.
We're going to get into our chaos talk a little bit here.
Total chaos. By the way,
yes.
as Keith Richards is still alive, and he's only 77.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he look 213?
That's what hard drug use will do to you, kids. Stay away.
Oh, my goodness. Just him and David Crosby. I mean, okay. Is he still around?
Yeah, I think so.
Is he really?
I think so.
Man, that guy's done more drugs than... I got to look that up.
Oh, boy.
How do you spell Crosby? Don't say it. It's like asking you 100 times 11. Don't say it. Crosby is, he'll be 80 August 14th.
Oh, my goodness. Huh.
From Nash, Stills, Young, and Crosby.
Dirty hippie. Uh-oh.
They were at Woodstock, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah, they were.
All right.
They even wrote a song called Woodstock.
Really?
So, yes.
I thought that was about the bird. The Snoopy. Wasn't that about him?
No.
Woodstock? Oh,
No.
okay. All right. Jay,
Yes.
now I know that your top 3 or 4 cities, we're going to talk about one of them today. And if you want to guess it here on Community Solutions, I mean, you got St. Louis Park, one of your favorite cities.
Yes.
And, of course, Duluth, another one of your favorites.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we have the great, wonderful city of Minneapolis. And Jay, if you could teach a class on how not to build a street, how not to,
Do anything.
yeah, do anything like that. 5 is enough. They talk about 20 is plenty. Pretty soon it'll be 8 is enough.
Right.
That'll be the show. They'll rip off that show and it'll be 8 is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. TV show will have more kids than miles an hour that you could drive in a city street. But just the chaos in Minneapolis. I mean, look, folks, I know that we poke fun at Minneapolis a lot. And I know a lot of people think that what's going on in Minneapolis can't happen in your city or something like that. But I'm going to tell you something. The chaos over the last year that has gone on in this city, the bloviating, the lack of it really goes to show how poorly the city has been governed for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Has just all been exposed so much in the last year. And with this defund the police and, we're going to, but we're not going to, and nobody seems to have any grasp of what that means or what it looks like. It's become a bumper sticker. And the chaos continues. I mean, the utter just, I mean, that city was already going down the tubes, as most big cities are in this country.
Yep.
They're dying. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, they're unrecognizable. And I mean, think my mom grew up in Minneapolis, went to Roosevelt High School. And it was 50 years ago, but I mean, Minneapolis was her hometown.
Wow.
My grandfather worked for the Minneapolis School District. And what this city is like, what we have been treated to. I'll tell you what, you're in Hollywood, and I know that's a town kind of desperate for ideas. If you want a reality show, or if you want a show based on a true story, which a lot of things, movies and things are. Lifetime movies, my favorite, where the women are crazy. Because that's my favorite part.
Boy.
Look no further than the Minneapolis City Council and the groups trying to do whatever they're trying to do in Minneapolis. Look no further than that. And you've got chaos is almost too light of a word.
Yes.
I mean, you've got a reality show that I don't even know what the title of it would be. I mean, it's that bad. I mean, there have already been twice as many murders in this city as there were a year ago at this time, end of May. Now, stop and think about that for a minute. The whole, thing about Mr. Floyd and what that sparked nationwide. And yet, the situation not only has gotten worse, but I would say it's the rate that it's out of control is escalating more than anything else. I mean, it is beyond out of control in that city. Leaders there are paralyzed. Police have no idea what to do. I think they don't know. I don't think they know what to do. I mean, what are we allowed to do? I mean,
exactly.
What are we going to? I mean, what's the line now between? And you know what I think. I mean, I think the police chief committed perjury at the Derek Chauvin trial. The idea that these policies and all that have been, they've looked the other way for a long, long time there. I think he threw Chauvin under the bus. I get why he did it, but I think he lied.
Yeah.
Now, or committed perjury. I may be taking it too far. I think he threw Chauvin under the bus. But anyhow, go back to June of last year, okay? 9 city council members gathered, by the way.
Out of 13.
Out of 13. Amber Fry, I don't think, was there. This is from Vox.com.
Probably not if it's the city council.
Yeah, he's not a part of that. Gathered in Powderhorn Park. Where's that?
Oh, goodness. I've been there.
I almost called it Peppercorn.
I can find out. I think it's south, and I don't think it's very far from the George Floyd Memorial.
Oh, okay. So 38th and okay.
Yeah.
9 members. Now that's 9 out of 13. So it's 2/3. Promised to dismantle the city's police department and create a new transformative, I guess that would be gender fluid, model for cultivating safety in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Efforts to meet that proposal began quickly. The council unanimously passed a resolution June 12th. This is two weeks later.
Yeah.
They unanimously passed a resolution. Okay? So that's every one of them.
Powderhorn Park's in between Bloomington Avenue and Chicago Avenue, couple blocks south of Lake Street down to about 35th.
Okay, I know exactly where that is then.
Yes.
Not far from Famous Dave's.
Correct.
So this resolution, which I'm not going to read it to you here, but resolution file number 2020-00667, resolution 2020-R-152, that laid out a plan for beginning a year-long process of community engagement. Again, something that ends up in every single. How many times have we heard that? That's worse than sustainable. Mm-hmm. Research and structural change to create a transformative new model for cultivating safety. So that was the resolution that they passed. A year later, okay, we basically sit here watching this chaos unfold. I mean, we're watching things get worse. We're watching a city council that has no answers as to what to do or what defunding or redoing the. I mean, what does that mean exactly? We're going to
Nobody really
create
knows.
this new department of. Yeah. We're not going to call it police. We're going to call it something else. I mean,
yes. Yes, Department of Public Safety or
well, isn't
something
that
like
kind of like
yeah.
Police and fire? Aren't they called? They've been called public safety since Yorktown.
Right.
I mean, why is that something new? They're going to disarm the police? Are you kidding?
Not in that town. You're not.
You got to be pretty crazy to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to tell you what? You want to escalate violence and escalate the amount of guns in citizens' hands?
Yeah.
Defund the law enforcement. And people
Yes.
will take it upon themselves to, okay, if I can't dial 911, guess what? I'm going to get a gun. If somebody shows up at my door,
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot first and think second. But this was long ago considered a very radical thing, Jay, and it got, very quickly, it got mainstream acceptance.
Yes. It's almost as if they've been planning it for a while.
How did that happen, though? I mean, how did it happen that...
As with all these things, they're not just organic. You have people that are planning these things.
How do you have an amendment? So it's like the Patriot Act a couple days after 9/11. Well,
right.
Where did that come from?
Exactly.
Where are the hearings on that?
How did pallets of bricks and water get delivered to these areas where the riots occurred, not only in Minneapolis, but Washington, D.C., and Seattle, and Portland?
I thought they were just born there.
Yeah.
Did they call it Bricks R Us? And they made a special trip?
This is something that has been in the planning for a long time. Okay? All of these riots and stuff, you have groups that hate the United States, whether it's the Revolutionary Communist Party, whether it is Antifa, whatever. Okay? Whatever you want to call it. It's been in the works for a long time. This was just, it happened to be the event that triggered it. It gave them the excuse to go out and put this plan into motion. This has been sitting there waiting to be, and they knew, okay, in order to be able to break America down, we've got to break down all of their institutions. So whether we're looking at education, which they've done, whether we're looking at government, which they've done, whether they're looking at business, which they've done, whether they're looking at, at any of the major realms of influence within a culture.
How about the church?
They've gotten into the church. I mean, look at Isaiah, Minnesota. And that is a bunch of radical politicians that have cloaked themselves as, remember when we went through Isaiah's website and there was one person that was affiliated with a church, everybody else was from government? You go through it now, all of those people all of a sudden attend this church or attend that church. And there was no sign of that on their website until after we podcasted about it. And they must have heard about it because now everybody's affiliated with a church.
Oh, once again, community solutions affecting you. Funny, I think Isaiah follows me on Twitter.
Yeah, well, there you go. And they probably follow me.
I think there's another.
Well, maybe they don't follow me. They probably don't know who I am.
There's another group that likes you. They like you. I mean, what are you talking about? You got a great reputation with them.
Oh, I'm sure I do.
Well,
but yeah. So, anyways, this plan has been sitting there, for a while from these groups. They had to tear down all of the institutions, the military being another one, and they've infiltrated the military.
Being used as a social experiment, right?
And the only thing they weren't able really to get at was the police, to the degree churches, and to a degree the family. And those are the three that they are hitting hardest against right now. When you look at the things that are going on in our school systems, when you look at the things that are going on as far as trying to defund or disarm the police.
Well, they've gone after the family indirectly by doing things in the schools that don't belong in the schools,
right,
that belong at the home. I mean, and that's also their way of getting into churches a lot.
Absolutely.
If you're just a nuclear family that middle class, goes to church on Sunday and has 2.3 kids, how do they get to you? They get to you by getting into your kids' heads. They get to you by shaming your faith.
Yeah.
Or,
They've got into the churches and infiltrated the churches they can, and for the rest of them, they try to criminalize their line of thought. And
my thought is they have gotten into the church. Churches are scared to say something. Their members aren't.
Some of them are.
Their members aren't.
Yes.
But the clergy often, I ain't touching that.
A lot of them are that way, yeah. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
No, it's true. I mean, and so you're right. I mean, there's a percentage that are and a percentage that aren't.
Yeah.
I think by and large, though, you'd see members being quite different than
yeah, by and large, that's true.
Well, getting back to Minneapolis here.
Yes.
So after, here's the thing. Last August, this is important to point out because this is how quickly the pullback started. Mm-hmm. Okay, that Minneapolis residents who supposedly, hated the police, wanted the police, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Who did this? I just want to quote who did this polling. NPR News did the polling. Okay. And here were the results. This is August of 2020. Should or should not Minneapolis should or should not this is a horribly worded question. Redirect some of the funding from police department to social services, which is a very poor way to write something.
Yes.
73% said yes in this poll. The very same poll said that 48% of respondents said that shrinking the police force would negatively impact public safety. 48%.
That seems low.
26% thought it would actually make the city safer. How many criminals do you think were in that 26%? Quite a few, I bet.
Yes, quite a few.
14% said no effect.
What?
But I mean, if you look at, notice how the question was worded: shrinking the police force.
Right.
Okay, not eliminating it.
Right.
Okay, which is a tricky way that these news organizations ask questions. So the defunding has kind of been walked back ever since this rethinking policing. The same article here on Vox.com points out all the reforms the department has already put into place. Everything from body cameras to racial bias training to use of force guidelines, and all of these things that they've already done. You know, these things, this has already happened.
Yes.
You know, and the one thing I'll tell you what really concerns me. You know what really concerns me is this whole movement to make race a thing in hiring. This idea that we're going to make the way to fix this is to have police officers of a different race.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, let me explain why that's a bad idea. First of all, being a police officer is not a job you walk in and apply for.
No, you got to go through some school.
Okay, go ahead. You start on Monday. No, that doesn't happen. This isn't working a register at SA. No offense. I mean, I'm not trying to poke fun at people, but these folks go through training. They go through an academy. Some of them become CSO, community service officers first. It's a big deal. It's a big responsibility to be a police officer. Some of them have been in the military. I mean, the idea that you're going to just go out there and say honkies need not apply and think that that's going to fix anything. And this is my concern. My concern is we're going to dumb down what it takes to be a police officer.
Yeah.
That we're going to say, okay, well, here we're talking about more training, more,
Right.
and yet that would slow the process of changing a force, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, I mean, and you've seen this, I'm sure. A lot of these protesters and lawless people that want to get rid of the police anyways, they don't want more black people on the force.
Yeah.
You've seen video of people, these jerks going up to black police officers and treating them just the same as they would a white one. Calling them every name in the book, pushing on them, they're not going to treat them any better just because of the color of their skin. They see them as the enemy because they're the man.
Well, yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. The law is supposed to apply to people equally.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's not supposed to be, well, if you're a certain color, this law applies to you and this law doesn't, or something like. If we want, you can't have blind justice and social justice.
Right.
Those two things don't mix.
I would agree with that.
And I am just, I mean, the Minneapolis police force has already shrank. It shrank because officers getting the hell out of there. So if you think you're going to put a different label on something, and of course it's not good enough. Not good enough for the big groups here. In fact, I want to explain some of the I don't know if you want to call it reforms that have taken place in Minneapolis. Police officers there's a new thing that they have to justify their use of force a little differently. They can't shoot at a moving vehicle. The body cameras have to be left on now for private inter-police conversations. The chokeholds are banned. I don't really... I think that's hard to me, that's a little hard to differentiate, but limits on no-knock warrants, an $8 million policing budget cut, and yet it has not gone far enough.
No, it's never as far enough.
Oh, it's never enough. I mean, the reality is reforms have not worked, said Janae Bates, communication director for your favorite group, Isaiah and Faith in Minnesota. There are well-documented decades of reform that the Minneapolis Police Department has been through, and they have also demonstrably shown they are completely resilient to reform. These activists argued that more sweeping approach is needed. They say a lack of broader reform means fear and mistrust of the police remain. Who's fomenting that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let me ask you something. Where are these so-called black leaders, and I use that term loosely, because to me, black leaders, by and large, have done a disservice to their race. I mean, you look at the problems, and they're not unique to the black community, Jay, but I think they're persistent.
Right.
Whether that's drug use, whether that's unplanned pregnancy, whether it's dropping out of school. And these leaders have no ideas how to fix these problems.
Oh, sure they do. They're just bad ideas.
Yeah, okay. But I mean,
Yes.
Nothing they've proposed has worked to drop.
Right.
And yet, I mean, it's like, isn't there a give and take here that has to happen? But where are the leaders saying, quit doing drugs, quit dropping out of school, quit committing crimes, quit? I mean, they're making, this is a bad choice of words, but they're making automatic victims out of any interaction. I mean, black people get shot in Chicago all weekend, and there's no protests, there's no marches. Why do some Black Lives Matter and some not?
And in fact, their mayor defends it.
Yeah, the mayor won't meet with any white people.
Yeah.
Won't talk to white people now.
Well,
I mean,
and
can you
she's
imagine that?
brushed off, all these shootings too.
Oh yeah, it's the state next to them's fault. It's anybody's
Yeah.
fault.
Well, I mean, I could see how you would blame Gary for that kind of thing.
Well, I'm sure Gary stinks as much as the mayor, but whatever. But this sweeping reform, and there is this Yes for Minnesota coalition. So I
oh,
wanna get in that for a
lovely.
second.
They're good. These are my peeps.
Oh yeah, we'll go through that in a second.
I've
here,
never
but-
said that before. That didn't feel good coming out of my mouth. Okay.
It's like me. I like to say the word package and the word privy, and you like to say peeps.
No, I
Okay.
didn't. I don't think you'll hear that again from me.
I bet we do. I bet we do. Look, I got a contract through at least season 5 here, so we're gonna definitely hear that. Okay, so I'm gonna get you to say. Put it this way. Hold on.
Yeah.
So we would hit. Our anniversary would be in what, like February, March?
Yeah, something like that. February.
Okay. Before then, mark my words. What is this show? 212?
Yeah.
213?
212.
You will say the word peeps before episode 250.
I may, but I'd be
Challenge
referring to the.
To you. You will do it.
I'll be referring to those little marshmallow birds.
I don't care what you're referring to.
Okay.
It's kind of like when I think of anything like marshmallows, all I think of is Ghostbusters. Anyway, so you will say the word peeps again. Okay?
Oh,
so
goodness,
just
we'll
mark my
see.
words, folks. It will happen in the next 8
All
months.
right.
So this Yes for Minnesota coalition, which of course isn't happy with anything.
Yes for Minneapolis.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you say?
What?
What did I say?
Yes for Minnesota.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Same difference.
We just want to give the listeners the right place to look.
You'll find it quick enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, number 4, Minneapolis.org.
Okay.
Yes.
So Joe, oh boy, Bulu.
Where are you looking?
I'm still on the same Vox story.
Oh, you're on the Vox story. Okay, I went over to the
Minneapolis
other
vow
site.
to dismantle its police department. Is change finally coming? This is from last month.
Yeah.
And of course, they cite something for the Center for American Experiment as a right-wing think tank.
Yes.
Always have to put of course, these groups aren't a bunch of left-wingers.
No.
That's never worded that way. Joe Beaulieu, Beaulieu,
It's French.
Joe Beaulieu, executive
Beaulieu.
director of the
Yes.
Little Earth Resistance. Are they
Residents.
Are they science
Yeah.
deniers? Oh, okay. I thought maybe they were science deniers.
Little Earth Residents Association. So they come from Little Earth. I don't know where that is, but
It's right by Big Earth. One of the organizations in the Yes for Minneapolis, not Minnesota, coalition said many of the Native American youths he's worked with, oh Christ, all 5 of them, have a lot of negative interactions either with the police stereotyping them or targeting them in the things they're doing wrong. Well, let's see. Things they're doing wrong. Jay, if you're committing a crime, the police might discriminate against you a little bit. I'm just saying.
yeah.
You know, if you're breaking into something or stealing something, the police might have a negative view of you. That may happen.
Very unfair to criminals.
I know. I mean, what are I talking about? About creating victims here. Police picking them up, putting them to the back of the car, and dropping them off somewhere else in the city. Yeah.
Just randomly? Or, hey, you get in the car.
Yeah.
You're going for a ride.
That's right. We're going to drop you off from one side of Lake Nokomis to the other. Go walk home. What is that? Really? If that's the case, I want to hear from these folks then. I mean,
Yeah.
that you should be filing a
COMMsolutionsmn at gmail.com. COMMsolutionsmn at gmail.com. If you've been put in the back of a police car,
if you're
dropped off somewhere else in the city.
If you're a Little Earth resistant association, I want to know. I want you to let us know if you have been picked up and dropped off in another place in the city.
Yes.
Okay? Just randomly. Somehow you got in a police car. No reason to pick you up at all. You weren't stealing anything.
We're being serious. We'll
you
read
didn't
it on the air.
flash anybody. Whatever. You just got picked up and somehow you ended up in another part of town.
We'll read it on the air. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
According, oh boy, I'm going to butcher this. According to Bo Thao Urabi.
Botal Urabi.
I did okay.
Yeah.
Executive and network director of the Coalition of Asian American Leaders. Boy, they knocked on the door for that job. Also a member of the Coalition of Yes for Minneapolis. There have been repeated instances in which the people have called the police expecting aid, only to find those interactions have been very harmful. In particular, it's a she, citing the cases of Fog Lee,
yeah.
and, oh boy, Cheshire Fog Vu, who were killed by police in 2006 and 2019, respectively. View, after officers fired dozens of shots at him in front of his home following a domestic disturbance call. Well, can I ask a question about this?
Yes.
What was going on that caused that interaction? I mean,
Right.
They shot them because they're Asian?
That's the implication here, but that's not.
Following a domestic disturbance call.
What kind of domestic disturbance
does that
was
mean
it?
he was, beating up his wife or something? Or
Could have been. He
girlfriend?
could have been wielding a knife. Could have been wielding a gun.
I mean,
We don't know. We don't have the. We don't have
nice,
the facts.
nice journalism here.
Yeah. Way to go, Vox.
Broadly, Bates said folks in Minneapolis are fearing over-policed and completely underprotected. Oh, so you want to, you're unprotected, yet you're over-policed.
Yeah.
So I got too much security around me, yet I'm feeling insecure.
Too many police sitting around eating donuts.
Yeah.
I wish they'd come do something.
There's too many locks on my door, but I'm more, what? Before we get to the charter proposal, I want to explain. Let's go to this group, Yes for Minneapolis. I want to talk about their coalition. They've got riveting, and I mean riveting, folks, that they're coalitioning with. Of course, the ACLU. Take Action Minnesota. Jay,
Yes.
this is your favorite group.
Oh, of course.
Swap Minneapolis.
What? I'd like to swap it for something.
Sex Workers Outreach Project.
They're working with Yes Minneapolis. Yes,
Yes.
for Minneapolis. That's an
Of
actual group.
Of course, I saw that and immediately went to their website. Yes, Sex Workers Outreach Program. And I mean, they stand for important things.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I don't know what. Is that really
We are
a good acronym for people in that industry?
okay.
Ugh.
SWAP Minnesota is a local chapter of the largest organization focused on the human rights of people in the sex trade in this country. Now, the sex trade is literally a violation of every human right
Yes.
on the face of the earth.
Absolutely it is.
You are trading human beings.
Yes.
This is no different than slavery. Maybe worse.
Yeah, I
some
would
respects.
agree. I think there's, I mean, I don't know from experience, but I would assume that most people in that industry have somebody that works over them that keeps them working.
I would say that's in the very high percent.
I don't know.
They
Again,
focus
I don't
on
know.
harm reduction, abolition, and decriminalization. We are a peer-based support group that is dedicated to uplifting the most vulnerable members of our society. So
What does that mean?
they want sex worker freedom.
So
They support International Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers. Well, let me tell you something. The whole industry is the reason for the violence.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, it's...
So
It goes
what are
hand
they
in
talking
hand
about?
here.
An end to
Okay.
traffickers?
No,
but not.
no, they
but
want
not
decriminalization of that.
well, of the actual act of prostitution, right? But they want to get rid of the oversight, if you will, from.
They don't say that in those words, but okay. Listen to this.
Yes.
An adult entertainment ordinance is another thing they support. After years of research and advocacy, the Minneapolis City Council amended the adult entertainment ordinance in order to secure basic labor rights for exotic dancers in the city of Minneapolis. Well, they got their priorities. I mean, I'll tell you what, they got their priorities. These previously unprovided rights include the right of a clean workspace. I'm sorry. A clean workspace. And the right to a copy of the performance contract and an end to dancers tipping out management at the end of the night. So they have they're all about the defunding the police. Again, people who want crimes not to be called crimes, strangely don't want law enforcement anywhere.
Right.
So that's all part of that there. How about reviving Sisterhood?
I didn't know it was dead.
Yeah, that's not a movie with Susan Sarandon in it. That is revivingsisterhood.org. In September 2015, a handful of Muslim women gathered in Minneapolis to share their experience and observations about female leadership, community involvement, and civic engagement. Muslim women were teachers, scholars, professionals, blah, 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 doing the work, but it was going unacknowledged. So they are having action here on Muslim women, which is strange coming from a part of the world where women are treated like garbage. But this is all about their story. The mission is to amplify the voice and power of Muslim women. We imagine a future where all Muslim women are connected, reflected, celebrated, and emboldened. Well, I get an idea. Why don't you start in the Middle East with that?
Yeah.
How about that? How about go to Iran and let's get that. I don't have any problem with Muslim women.
No.
I have a problem telling me that the country I live in is a bunch of racists and things like that, but that's the Sisterhood.
Okay.
They have a staff and a shura council. And listen to this statement. They removed their staff from the website in order to protect their identities from Islamophobic white supremacist targeting and security threats.
Really?
So we don't know who they
boy.
are. They go protest everywhere, but we
Yeah.
don't know who they are.
You can't drive in Saudi Arabia, but
What is the SEED? The Southeast Asian Diaspora Project?
Diaspora Project. Oops.
Who are they?
Well,
I'll
sounds
have to
like
look
another
them
one
up.
of those fantastic groups.
South, what is that now?
So you're probably wondering what a diaspora is.
I have no idea what what do you call it?
They're basically when you have a group of people that live outside of the area that they come from. Often it is related to the Jews, like all the Jews that don't live in Israel. That's the diaspora. So
there's diaspora everywhere then.
well, yeah, I guess so. It's a dispersion of people from their homeland.
Okay. So technically, I'm a diaspora.
I suppose so. You know, well, I mean, maybe not you. I mean, you didn't come from the country, but you know, your grandparents or maybe your great.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many
I don't know.
grades.
Yeah, came off the boat.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, my great grandfather, 4 grades.
Yeah.
Adolphus Richter III, captain of the Mayflower.
Yes.
So, I mean, I have been here for a while.
Yes.
Oh, I see the little Earth people on here.
The little Earth people.
Well, what do you call it?
Oh no.
Women for Political Change. Anyway, I mean, there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of these little groups.
Sure.
You know, I mean, it looks like
Showing up for racial justice. I guess if you had a group of people that didn't show up for racial justice, it wouldn't be much of a group.
yeah, I mean, I guess not. I mean, you know.
Release MN8. I don't know what that is.
This women group.
Yes. Pollen. I guess the pollen in the air
People
is
giving
against the
allergies,
police.
they're on
Yes.
there. The mission is for women of political change, invests in the leadership and political power of young women and trans and non-binary individuals throughout Minnesota. We are living in a society in which our dominant institutions benefit from the perpetuate oppressive systems, including patriarchy, transphobia, white supremacy, classism, and xenophobia. By investing in young people and creating alternative spaces for community education and healing, we can challenge these systems of oppression and work to shift the power within the public and political leaders. You know, isn't that kind of a naked statement of what this is really all about?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean-
it kind of is.
I mean, it's sort of like we don't like the people in charge, and instead of voting them out or you know, we're going to, you know, we're just going to threaten and protest our way until we get our way. I mean, and so anyway, Jay, this ballot proposal
yes.
that these Yes for Minnesota people are trying to push. I am struggling with how to explain it.
Okay. Well, I can take a crack at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should explain that they're
Yes.
petitioning the Charter Commission.
Yes.
And they tried to do this last year, and it didn't pan out. And then the council took kind of another crack at it, and it's
Right.
kind of still kind of in limbo.
So they want to amend the city charter of Minneapolis.
Yes.
If you haven't listened to us for a long time, a city charter is like a city's constitution. Okay, most cities in Minnesota are statutory cities, and they're set up on the basis of statutory statutes that are enacted by the Minnesota legislature. So Minnesota legislature passed a bunch of laws on how to form a city, incorporate a city, and that's what statutory cities follow. They're kind of at the whim of the legislature. Anytime they want to change those, the cities kind of have to follow suit.
And we should mention that that's actually a majority of cities
Yes.
do not have a charter.
Right.
You and I would like to see that changed. But
I think they all should.
Yeah, I agree.
Gives a city a little more independence, a little more teeth. And the charter then is like a city constitution where it spells out exactly here's how the city's going to operate. And it's hard to change, and it should be hard to change because, you don't want people coming in willy-nilly and changing how, obviously when you're looking at ordinances, those aren't as serious, and you can change those more easily. But you cannot change a charter so easy. It has to go through a charter commission, and
I believe it needs a super majority of council members in most cities.
Yep,
too.
and oftentimes you can have to have people voting on things, some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult on purpose. So here's what they want to do. So they call this the People's Petition because it's coming from the people, I guess. They want to strike the section of the city charter, section 7.3, that requires the city of Minneapolis to rely solely on police to uphold community safety, and they want to replace it with the following language. And we should mention, in Minneapolis, there needs to be a certain number of police per capita. So based on the population of Minneapolis, they need to have a certain minimum of police, and they want to get rid of that. But here's what they want to get into the charter. 7.3, public safety. A, Department of Public Safety. The function, the Department of Public Safety is responsible for integrating its public safety functions into a comprehensive public health approach to safety, including licensed peace officers, if necessary, to fulfill the responsibilities of the department. So they're not saying you have to have any. Just if they're necessary, you can have them to help with public safety, but you don't necessarily need them. And they need then to create a position for the Commissioner of Public Safety Department. And this is getting rid of the police department, I need to add, and replacing it with the Public Safety
Starting
Department.
Starting it over.
Yep. And so then the mayor nominates and the city council appoints a commissioner of the Department of Public Safety under Section 8.4. They want some additional changes. The People's Petition will also strike the words police department in Section 7.4C and replace it with Department of Public Safety.
Well, that fixes a lot of problems.
Absolutely.
We're not the police. We're from the Department of Public Safety.
Yes.
Don't worry.
We're still here to help you. Yeah. Okay, in Section 8.2 D5, which include language related to the appointment of a police chief, the People's Petition will strike. In the case of the police chief on the first weekday in January, that is not a holiday in the year of the appointment starts, we will replace it with the following language. In the case of any other office, as any applicable ordinance provides, otherwise upon election or appointment. So the language of the petition was developed through a community input process. I bet it was headed up by somebody with a lot of money in some foundation somewhere. We believe a people's petition is the strongest way to guarantee the people to get to vote on the proposal in November. We are working with the city council. Our proposals are not in conflict with the city council. Now, I would be interested, and maybe we should see if we can look into this. What are the proposals that are on the table for Portland and Seattle? And, do they use the same language? Because as we've shown people over the years, that they often tend to copy each other.
Let me tell you something.
There is
nowhere where plagiarism is worse than in government.
Yes.
And literally, government is just naked about it. I mean, if Minneapolis passed, if Minneapolis were a band and they wrote a song called "Defund the Police," okay, Des Moines could pick it up and use it, okay, but that's not Des Moines, but Portland, Seattle, Austin, all the yuppie kind of towns could not do that. And plagiarism goes on in government nakedly. Open, and I mean, they don't even try to hide it. No. Funny, actually, they don't try to hide it, but they still deny it. Yes. It's like on their website, there'll be like links to a national group, links to another city, links to. Oh, we're not looking at any, but we're not copying.
That's a conspiracy theory.
No, it's right on your damn website, but that's you're not doing it. We all know you're not doing it.
Of course not.
So. I'm still confused.
Okay.
Yolanda Roth of Take Action Minnesota makes me even more confused. Listen to what she says. Food safety, housing safety, safety in our schools, in our homes, in our lives. We're going to give everyone in Minneapolis a chance to decide what safety means to them. Huh?
Everyone?
Food safety? When do the police deal with that?
We want to abolish the FDA.
Yeah. I've never heard of that before.
FDA is a bunch of jerks. Food safety. Who's sticking stuff in their food in Minneapolis?
I don't know, but here's another interesting caveat.
Yeah.
From the ACLU. Munaria Muhammad of the Minnesota ACLU wants to make it clear that getting rid of cops is not their intent.
Oh, really?
Well, since when? She said, that's a she. She said handing off tasks such as mental illness intervention and low traffic enforcement to other professionals would help the police do their job. Well, who's supposed to enforce low traffic enforcement who's going to do that now?
Yeah.
We're going to just call them something different? I mean, what are their qualifications for this? Mm-hmm. I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to mental health intervention. Hey, I'm feeling anxious. Dial 911. Get the police here, okay? I mean, traffic enforcement has been done by the police since the Magna Carta. I mean, what do you... When you don't have police stopping people for minor traffic enforcement violations, such as tinted windows or registration, what you do is save them time so they actually focus on violent crime. Really? How well is that working in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
And by the way, let me just give you a...
Carjackings are up.
Let me just give you a piece of advice there, Ms. Muhammad. If you don't want to be pulled over for tinted windows and you don't want to be pulled over for registration, I got an idea. Don't tint your windows and get your tabs like everybody else does.
Huh?
I told the story on this show. I was pulled over once for expired tabs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
I was too, and I found out that somebody had cut my tabs off with. They stole my tabs.
I'll tell you the things that happened to you. What a story to tell. Yeah, sorry. Somebody took a hedge clippers, clipped off.
Not a hedge clippers, but somebody probably took like a X-Acto knife and peeled them off.
Well,
they had record. I had paid them.
I'll continue.
They're just gone.
Okay, Mayor Amber Fry says that Jacob Fry says that the depleted police force is struggling to keep up with the waves of violent crime. In the last year, more than 200 officers have quit, taken a leave, or retired. I wonder why.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me, and you couldn't pay me to be a police officer. I would do it for an hour. On the north side last week, Fry pushed back on charter proposals. I'm sure that push was really strong. I mean, there was like 3 pounds of pressure, I bet.
You know, if you...
He made a broken nail.
I will give him credit. If he's still standing here after last year when he stood in front of that crowd and got booed out of the crowd because he would not commit to defunding the police, and he's still standing in that spot, I'll give him some credit for that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I'd like to see a little more leadership out of him.
Yeah.
And
standing and doing something are two different things.
But he still feels to me like he waffles all the time.
Yeah.
He wants to placate certain groups, yet he won't. I mean, to me, I'd like to see him just take a stand and stay there.
Right.
You know, I'm not defunding the police. I'm not. I'll discuss reforms. Mm-hmm. I will discuss things about training. I will involve all those people there, but these proposals stuff are off the table.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be what I would like to hear. And yeah, okay, is he as wishy-washy as the other? No, he's not on this. But that isn't saying a lot either.
Right.
And he does outline kind of a vague proposal, I would say, involving reforming the department from within. But again, it's all kind of the same thing that I don't understand what it's...
Yeah.
I don't understand what the, reducing minor traffic stops. Well, you don't get to decide how many traffic stops there are in a day. If 100 people are speeding and 40 people are speeding the next day,
yeah.
I mean...
Well, in Minneapolis, everybody's speeding because
right,
it's 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, but I mean, look, here's an idea. Repeal some ordinances. Repeal some... I mean, if you got too much government, if you have more laws than you can enforce, okay, then you really have an issue there, and you should be looking at that.
Yeah.
And of course, no one's proposing looking at the city code, saying how many effed up things do we have in here that we could just ticky-tack stuff. Let's get rid of it, give some people more of their freedom back.
Well, that's not going to happen from this crowd.
Well. I don't know. I think people like Fry, people like Walls, people like that are in a quandary here because they really do identify with the protesters and stuff. They also know this place goes under. They're the ones that are going to be seen as the people who let it happen.
Yeah.
By the way, the council president, do we call it there?
Okay. Yeah.
Lisa Bender?
Yes.
Announced she's not running for another term.
Really?
Yeah, she's up this year and is not running again. So, but look at go to Minneapolis.gov, folks. Look at these beauties. Your favorite, I know your favorite is Ward 8 there. That's your favorite.
Okay.
Alondra Cano, she could write a book on misstatements by a council member. Cam Gordon, I know he's a Green Party guy. I think Steve Fletcher is too. Keith Ellison's son is another council member. So, I mean, you people in Minneapolis are going to have to start electing new people or running new people. I mean, all you're going to do is get more of the same.
With ranked choice voting, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, ranked choice voting is there to insulate the folks from there. So, and I'm kind of curious. There were 9 of them who committed to defunding the police, and a year later haven't done it. Who are the 9? I mean, I know Ellison's one, Cano is one, Bender's one.
Yep. You got those 3. You got. I can't see the names. I don't have them in front of me.
I gotta look it up.
Okay. Yeah, I know there are 2 trans people on there. One woman that.
There are 2.
There are 2. Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I knew. Ward 8's kind of hard to miss. Who's the other? They
flip-flop the other way. So
they're gender fluid now?
No. Looks like Ward 4, I think, isn't it?
We can't misquote somebody who's trans, Jay. Okay, here are the ones that support it.
That is correct. Yes, Ward 4.
Felipe Cunningham.
Yes. Yep.
So, do we say he was?
I don't know.
He was a Sheila, and
Yeah.
Ward 8 became a Sheila.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Here are so Cunningham is one.
Yes.
Cam Gordon, Steve Fletcher, Jeremiah Ellison, Ward 8. Cano, Bender, Jeremy Schroeder, and Andrew Johnson.
He was a terrible president and a terrible city council member.
So who did not support it? It was
Lene Palmisano.
Linnea?
Lene, I'm sure.
Kevin Reich, Lisa Goodman, and Jamal Osman.
Jamal Osman's the new one. That remember we did a podcast before that election. He was part of a special election. Remember that list of all the Somali people that were running, and they all like worked in government. They came over here from a refugee camp and worked in government, and then yeah, he's the one from that election.
Okay, is that a good or a bad thing? I
don't remember him specifically. I think it was
I remember
pretty
that,
liberal.
Remember that list of it was a pretty rough show.
There was one lady that sounded like she was confused that she was more conservative, even though she said she wasn't. But I think everybody else was pretty liberal.
Okay.
Well, it's Minneapolis, of course. That's the case. So
I see. So, oh boy. Aren't you just happy you don't live there?
Oh,
don't you just count
overjoyed?
Don't you count your blessings every day? I mean, we can update this as we go. I mean, we'll new information and stuff. We'll pass off to you guys when we get them. We understand what this charter thing is all about, and so on and so forth. I mean,
well, I mean, this is a workaround. They tried to get it passed through the charter. The Charter Commission last year decided they could have voted for it, voted against it, or decided to let it ride. Now, there were political advantages to letting it ride because they would not be able to, the city council would not be able to override the Charter Commission's decision. So they didn't want to vote yes. And I'm sure by the sounds of it, they wanted to vote no. But if they had voted no, the city council would have been able to override their decision with 9 people and put this on the ballot for last year to dismantle the police department. Now, the decision to just let it ride and not do anything meant that the city council was unable to take it back up for 90 days, which pushed it past the election. So that is why nothing happened on this last year. And so they're back. They're trying to do it this way with a petition to get it on the ballot. But I don't see there being enough people in Minneapolis that want to defund the police. It's an outspoken minority at best.
Well, I think one of the things that concerns me, though, is you can keep the police and render them impotent, too.
Well,
you know what I mean? That's almost worse.
Right. You tie their hands so they can't do anything?
Well, and you're going to have the police so afraid to do anything that
yeah.
I
mean, you'll have even more of them quit. I mean, and I wonder if that's part of it too. Force them to resign so you don't have to pay pensions or
well, and force
I
them to
know.
resign. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to dismantle them. They won't be there.
Yeah, because look at your buddy up in Brooklyn Center. The mayor up there, wants to make it so that they can't bring a gun on a traffic stop. I mean, what police officer is going to willingly walk into that buzzsaw?
Well, yeah, you don't know what you're going to confront at any time. I mean, and I would go back to evidence. There's plenty of, you've seen police officers get assaulted, and you don't know what somebody has in their. Here's the funny thing: they can wear a bulletproof vest, but they can't have a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stand here and get shot in the chest. That's okay, but I can't. I mean, really?
See, in Brooklyn Center is in bad enough shape the way it is, but there's another problem with Brooklyn Center. It's too close to North Minneapolis.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to kind of copy it. Why is it, too, that we have to, I don't want to say overreact, but why does one, like you said, one thing trigger so much? I mean, why is it that I mean, I don't even see the George Floyd thing so much as a race thing. I don't.
No.
I mean,
I don't think it was.
Is there any evidence that race played a part in that? Was there any evidence that
they would have charged him with a hate crime?
Well, wasn't one of the police officers of the 4 a minority too?
Yeah.
It wasn't like an Asian.
One
or
was
something?
Asian. Yeah.
So I mean, what? I don't know. I just say if you're in Minneapolis, get the hell out. Just get the hell out. Get out of there so fast your shorts will have to take another vehicle. That's what I do. Leave the skivvies and get out of there.
Your shorts will have to take the LRT out of with all the other miserable people.
They're back up to 100% capacity now, so they've gone from 3 to 5. People on the light rail. So, I mean, I'm dead serious when I say just get the hell out of there. I mean, what else are you going to do?
I don't know, though. I wish that Minneapolis cared about their city enough to put people in that would actually make some changes that are positive. Because what happens if everybody gets out of Minneapolis that provides any resistance to this kind of stuff? What happens? These people come looking for us in the suburbs.
Oh yeah,
and we
that's
have
happen
to,
no matter what. Though
it is, and our suburb mayors and city councils and police chiefs need to be ready for that. But I would just assume it didn't come, and that they actually Minneapolis cared about the other cities that live around Minneapolis and be a good neighbor and take care of your crime.
And I would also say to cities around Minneapolis and the second and third ring suburbs like you and I live in, Jay, need to nip this in the bud. Mm-hmm. I mean, they need to have the communication going. They need to have the, you don't want a George Floyd incident in your city.
No.
I mean, and that's not to say that it's all the police's fault I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you want this movement not to be in your city, you got to take proactive steps now, and not wait for a problem, and let's implement whatever you think is neat. Get together and keep those lines open. Get together with local churches, local groups, not political people who just want to stir the pot. But I mean, stakeholders, which I hate that word, but I mean, I'm just going to say it anyway. In these cities, and I'll tell you something else too. Another thing you got to do, you can't copy. You have to stay suburban and not urban. It's a great microcosm to talk about what thing you and I fight against all the time. Mm-hmm. You got to promote home ownership. You've got to keep the good jobs local. You've got to keep the local business strong. You've got to have places for people to work, places for people to, play sports, and you got it. That the places that have a strong sense of community, you're not going to see stuff like this happen.
No.
So I mean, your city's got to have their own character and their own all that. You got to fight the big city stuff, meaning fighting light rail, Don't give anybody a dollar pass. Come and raise havoc in your city. You got to promote car ownership, no car-free stuff, because that's how you transport. You know, I mean, that's freedom.
Yep.
I mean, it's just I don't know how to articulate it. You don't want big city problems. You don't implement big city policies.
Yeah.
And stop trying to take the sub out of suburb. That's what cities need to do.
Well, it's not even just the suburbs; it's the small towns. I mean, as we had in the last podcast.
My God, it was Barf City. That's what we should have, Barf City, USA. Well, you're right, though. I mean, cities that have 5 black people are talking about what was the education stuff, the racial, the stuff that we touched on. Listen to the episode. I don't want to affect our numbers by telling everybody what's on it, so I won't do that. But I mean, you're right in a sense that if all resistance leaves Minneapolis, it just throws it to the dumpster fire faster. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, I don't know what turns a city like Minneapolis around. I don't know what does. It almost has to just crumble under its own weight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think,
it's like, how do you reform the public school system? It's
well, I don't know if you do, but we got to try. I mean, we got to put good people into school boards, we got to try.
Yeah.
I think there are other things we need to do, and we need to keep working toward a voucher system where people can homeschool and have co-ops and all that kind of stuff, and tax money will cover education costs no matter what you do, and I think that only helps the inner city as well. So
I think it's the biggest thing that can help the inner city is putting the power out of government into the hands of individuals.
Yeah.
Well, Jay, I tell you what. Like I said, you people in Minneapolis, just I don't know what you do. I mean, I really don't know what to do. I mean, and I'm rarely speechless. I'm rarely out of advice, but I kind of am there.
Yeah.
I just something that passes to defund the police. I'm telling you, you're living there. You're living there in greater risk to your own life. I don't know how
becomes a third world country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I can say it nicely. I mean,
yeah.
It's going to affect everywhere in Minneapolis at some point. I know it affects, there are still parts of Minneapolis that are very nice, and there are parts of Minneapolis that have rich history here in this state.
Yeah.
And there's, sports teams, and there's some great places to eat, and there's beautiful Lake Nokomis and a few other places.
Lake of the Isles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great things there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, your government,
oh.
I mean, Bill de Blasio might be an improvement on some of these people.
I don't know about that.
Might be. I'm going to give him a 1 in 3 that he's an improvement on some of them. All right. It's that time again, Jay.
Yes.
Community Solutions once again. Jet flying, limousine riding. Wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. The men want to be him, the women love him. The sign-off sermon, we once again proudly present the king of sting, the master of disaster, Jason Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew. Oh, my word. We said some stuff tonight. But Andrew's right. I mean, where do you turn when you've got a city that is so full of corruption and so full of just anything bad that you can think of? It's just decayed moral constructs that, anything goes, moral relativism. It never works out. Because you get to a point where you push the boundaries so far, you become a caricature of yourself. And that's what Minneapolis has done. And now, are they beyond all hope? I would like to think not. I would like to maintain hope that the city that I'm a part of that is not so far gone that it's beyond repair. You know, we sit and we joke here and whatever, and we're serious, partly because we're angry about it, you know. We've enjoyed using the lakes and the restaurants and, you know, the different things that Minneapolis has to offer, but it's gotten to a point where, like, we even want to go. We don't want to step foot within the boundaries of that city because it's been messed up so bad. But we also know that if we don't fight and we don't say something, we don't have podcasts like this, it starts coming out to where we live. And it has in many ways, and it's touching all y'all out in the different parts of Minnesota, and maybe you don't even know it in certain ways. But, you know, it does. It gets into our culture because a big city like that is a cultural hub of not just that city, not just the suburbs, but the region, you know, whatever goes on in that city. So it's important that we love the city that we come from enough to want to fight and do something about it. But I tell you, it's not easy, and they have not made it easy. They have made it as difficult as possible to be able to fight back, and they have put in everything that they can think of, from ranked choice voting to defunding the police to 20-mile-per-hour speed limits to getting rid of drive-thrus in new establishments to you name it. There are so many bad policies in Minneapolis that it doesn't even make it fun to go visit. And you couple that then with off-the-charts crime, off-the-charts carjackings, off-the-charts shootings, murders. Oh, it sounds like a great place to be. Sign me up. We've got to take a stand against these things because it's not right. It's not right that we get put in a place where we have to deal with the effects of something because there's an irresponsible bunch of people that are heading up a city council, and you have people that don't do their research and they vote for somebody based on party without knowing a blooming thing about what they actually stand for. You have to do something different. It's not going to last. And it will crumble under its own weight. And you're gonna see Detroit 2.0 or worse. We can't continue to endure those kinds of hits. We have to stand up because these policies, they're coming for you. It doesn't matter where you live. It might be a while, and it might come in small ways, but it's going to come. So what are you going to do about it? Because doing nothing is not an option. We've got a lot of people that do nothing, and it doesn't change anything. All it does is allow for people to do the things that are harmful. So what are we going to do? We got to stand up. We've got to say, not on my watch. I'm not going to allow this to happen. I will sign a petition. I will walk in a march. I will run for office. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that these people are not able to enact the kinds of policies that they are planning to enact. So, there's many ways to go about that. There are opportunities, far more opportunities than I think we could ever cover in one episode of the Community Solutions Podcast. But really, you gotta ask those questions. You gotta know where you've been put, where you're being called to, where you can do the most good, and you gotta do it. Now, one simple thing you can do: take this podcast. You like it, you rate it, you put some comments in there, and you ship it off to everybody you know. Because it is the processing and the passing around of this information that at least it's going to wake people up. But after that, it's not enough to be informed. We also have to be active. We have to take a step in, and we have to actually act on what we believe. So who's willing to do that? Time is in short supply. And we've got all these things that we're coming against. But yet, so many people just seem to live life day to day. Do the same old things, and it doesn't seem to matter. You know, Minnesota, we need each other. And we need to do this before it's too late. Time has run out to sit there and not be a part of something. Time has run out to turn a blind eye and ignore the problem and hope it goes away. Time is out to go about your life the way you always have without paying attention. These are things that are going to kill us, kill our freedom, kill our careers if we let it. So what are we going to do about it? Well, hopefully you'll join us on this journey. Hopefully you'll go to your city and sign up to be on a city commission or a school board commission or a county commission. These advisory commissions help advise the city council, the county board, the school board on what to do. And that's a great way to begin to get involved. And as you learn more, get ready to maybe run for office yourself. Or if not, let's be on the same team, getting the information out there, making people aware, and helping people to understand how all of this works together. I know we can do it. You're interested, or you want to put an end to critical race theory in the state? You want to put an end to some of the abuses that we see from government? Get a hold of us. COMMSolutionsMN@gmail.com. That is COMMSolutionsMN@gmail.com. And I will be more than happy to get back in touch with you or to put your stories up here. But it's just the first step. It's the first step, but we know you can do it because we've done it. We love you, Minnesota. But now it's your turn.